Hey guys, welcome back to Chronicles of a Therapist. I am Cassandra. This is my podcast, this is my space. But I wanted to start off with first apologizing because it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I ain't do that many episodes last in 23. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. So, and as with I think a lot of us, 23 was a very, very chaotic year. And it's so crazy because, right now we're in tax season. So I'm gonna just tell y'all this so y'all can talk about me. I had 6 W-2s last year. So that tells you it's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of transitions. And so towards the end of the year, I finally have landed, finally. And another thing that I took a pause for, some of you know, some of you don't know, I am an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor, and I have been since 2012. Another step within our license is independent counselor. And so the end of 23, I was able to finally pass that test after taking it 3 times. And finally getting something that I've been trying to get for like 12 years, which is crazy. So last year was a struggle. One, because I took the test in March and failed it by 1.7 points, which sucked. And then kind of transitioning from that. So here we are now. So now I kind of can give you guys an update. Outside of having so many jobs last year, I have rested, and instead of I had a total of 6, but right now I hold 3. Yeah, I hold 3 now, which is still crazy. So the biggest transition as far as educationally, I'm sorry, not educationally, in the work realm is my new job. I'm a behavior specialist at a school, which means that I'm like a school counselor in the K through 12 charter schools. So if y'all really thought I was talking about kids and education and their struggles, yeah, it's kind of all everywhere now. So I wanted to kind of segue. One of the things that I think has been highlighted, like I've talked to so many parents about the education realm and how it sucks and how teachers don't do this and don't do that. But what I have found from, I started there in September, from September is that like a lot of our kids are struggling. And a lot of that has to do with the whole 2-year COVID BS and thinking that parents could teach their kids. Anybody who had kids from K through 12 at home and they doing remote and all that, like it definitely affected our kids. I will say in a moment of transparency that our school, the school that I work at, is a charter school, but it is marketed as a school that specializes in kids with autism and ADHD. But the translation to that is the majority of our kids, of the one, I think we got 112, is special ed. And so the interesting thing that I've learned, which I didn't know, so I thought I should share this knowledge with y'all because some of y'all got kids, right? So the interesting thing with the special ed is any mental health disorder, autism, SLD, which is like learning disabilities, any medical. And so in even the realm of saying that your kid is in special ed, it's vast. Like if you're a kid who has experienced a whole bunch of trauma, and that trauma, like I have a student whose trauma just kind of blew up in their face, I would say a year or two ago. Like they walked in on one of their favorite loved ones' suicide. So on top of having ADHD, and so to me, it's amazing as parents to really, really not know how that translate. And this student is in middle school too. So you're in middle school, you got this major trauma, you got, family dynamics because you're in a split home, but you got half siblings and step siblings. And this is just one of many. A lot of our students, you know, are homeless. A lot of our students are in foster care. A lot of our students, we are in a suburb, but they have left their primary, inner city realm to come to the suburb and have the majority Caucasian students and teachers try to navigate. And so I say that to say, like, as somebody who does not have children but have a host of children, nieces and nephews, and other children in my life, like I guess my call to parents is how do you tap in with your kids? Like I also know like with the people I know in my life who have children, like being a parent, that stuff ain't easy. Like there's no manual, there's no, and don't have more than one because now you got to figure out how to navigate this one, and that one, and this one. But my call to parents is the reality that the things that you didn't learn, becoming a parent now means I have to now kind of implement certain things that you didn't know you needed, right? So if you as a parent, maybe education wasn't important. Maybe education wasn't something that was modeled in your home, and you was like in and out of school and didn't, and then you have kids and then you are like, why don't you want to go to school? Well, how do you teach something that you didn't necessarily, you know what I mean? So I think it's important for parents, like the biggest thing that I've learned in this school year working with these kids is our kids are struggling. If I could tell y'all how many kids can't read and write, and I mean we K through 12, so I'm not just talking K through 4. I'm talking 11th and 12th graders who cannot read and write. Like if y'all think about 11th and 12th graders, you're about to be the next generation of like adulting. You can't read and write? So I say that to parents not as it's almost like a charge. Like think about the kids in your life, whether they're your stepkids, your bonus kids, your nieces and nephews, whatever. Like what does that look like? How do you support them? And then being honest and say, being an adult and providing for y'all and making sure you got this, that is a whole nother level. And so that is something that I've seen so much with our parents is like, okay, well, you keep calling me. Yes, I have called you 7 times because your kid keep hitting people and trying to run out the building because what you expect me to do? Like, even as a behavior specialist, that is now my job. Like, people in my life are like, why are you the one that always doing restraints? And why are you... Unfortunately, it's in the title. Like, my job is, there's a kid screaming. Where's Miss Cassandra? That's my job. And so I would say that the blessing with me being in the school is I'm not a teacher. So I'm not thinking about, the academic part of kids. I'm looking at the whole idea of like, okay, I have a student. He is I think he's in 3rd grade, and he's autistic. Very autistic, like textbook. If you know anything about autism and the spectrum, it's there. But then you have a parent who's like, my kid don't have, and it's like, okay, so this is why I'm calling you all 7 times where he's having meltdowns and wanting to leave and screaming, and we got to call the police down and do a restraint, and you know what I mean? So as parents, like, you have to be realistic. And I think this is the hard part of parenting. Being able to be realistic about what does my parenting structure look like? And more importantly, what does that look like to tap in with your kid? What does your kid need? Like, does your kid need structure? Do they need you to be all in their phone? Speaking of phones, and I will say this, I definitely come from a generation where we ain't have phones. Like, I bought my first prepaid flip phone at 12 and thought I was doing something. Like, it was the thing. Like, yes. We had pagers and stuff like that, but we were not so ingrained with our electronics growing up. Like, we know what it's like. I'm about to go outside. You know what that is. Like, all right, I'm about to go outside, and regardless of what you was doing outside, you wasn't at home. And even if you were into video games, that wasn't it. Like, you had a space. Oh, we doing video games because it's 12 degrees. Yeah, I'm not about to go outside. It's 12 degrees, right? And so I say that to say for parents, like, there are so many, our kids are smart. They grew up with technology, we didn't. So unless you're a hacker, as like that's your profession and you're a hacker, you know how to, your kids is probably smarter. They are, especially if your kids started having phone at 8, 9, 10. A lot of times us as parents don't think our kids is doing stuff, but they are. They watching stuff on YouTube Shorts. They, like they just doing different TikTok. Like, why are you 9 with a TikTok? What? Because why? Like, right? So I say that to parents, like, be realistic. Like, the parenting dynamic is super stressful. And I will give kudos to anybody who's a parent because That shit hard. And I ain't even a parent. It's hard. Like the stress that comes with not just being a parent, you and your significant other and you and your all of that is hard. But we as the adults in these kids' life, we got to be the one to be different. And so if your kid does have electronics and they are glued to their electronics, yeah, you might need to go ahead and run that off of them. Be like, have you ever read a book? Like, you ever read a book before? Do you know how to get a book from the library? How about that? That's old school. Like, and so something that I've learned, I have a different appreciation for my parents and how they parent because my dad was the king of you got to find it, right? So anybody who has a relationship with their dad and they're like, Dad, how come the sky is blue? You know what Mr. Shelby would say? Go get that encyclopedia and go find it. And so for me and my siblings, guess what? We have problem solving skills that a lot of people don't have because our dad literally forced us to find stuff. Like it's so bad now, like being an adult and being like, I'm not about to ask the questions because guess what? I'm about to figure it out, right? And so if you think about those things that our grandparents, parents taught us, like sometimes it could be like, oh, but they didn't care. No, they were trying to teach you how to be an adult. So what happens with these generations is they're glued to their electronics. They don't know how to think. They don't know how to deal with their emotions because they're glued and mimicking other people's stuff. And so then these 11th, 12th graders, they grown now. So now what? They have no accountability for nothing, right? I have some of our older students that just, I said, what do you want to do when you grow up? You in the 10th grade. What you want to do? I want to be an influencer. Okay, all right, you want to be an influencer. What you want to do? I don't know, I just want to play games and get paid. Okay. So here's the thing. Like, so those people who are entrepreneurs are in trades, y'all need to be doing those, like y'all need to be letting these young people know, like, everybody ain't gonna go to college. That is cool. Like you don't have to go to college. You don't. But what you do need to do as an adult is be responsible and be able to provide for yourself because even people who are influencers gotta work. Like that don't just easily come. Monetizing anything doesn't just come from like, yeah, I'm just about to play. You have to still put work in. And so I say that to parents in this, in this generation, like, what are you doing with your parenting? Like, how are you implementing empathy and accountability? I was talking to my little sister. My niece is 10. My niece is 10. They live in Las Vegas. And at 10, she just has no accountability. Like she just be lying about stuff. And I know that is normal for 10-year-olds, but me and my sister really thought like, how do you learn accountability? You know how we learned it? Having siblings. And if you're an older sibling, you know what it's like. You were supposed to do X, Y, and Z and your younger sibling didn't. Guess what it taught you? It taught you accountability as well as let me get these younger ones together because I'm tired of getting stuff taken and getting whoopings because of you. So me and my sister were talking about that. My niece is the only child. So how do you teach a 10-year-old accountability? Those of you with parents are like, shh, and it might be put them in sports. You might need to go do martial arts for a minute. Yep, you might need to. Yep, you might need to be a little sore. You know what I mean? You might need to go run some laps of basketball, do track. Think about, as parents, what are some things, because the reality with all kids, as much as we love to believe that in a parenting dynamic, at 10, 11, 12, we can teach them these things. In real life, we had to teach them that when they was 1. So when we was giving them tablets and stuff because they was crying and running around creating chaos, that's when we teach 1-year-olds. And so I say that as somebody who I remember the biggest lesson that I learned from my dad. I was like 1.5 or 1 in a walker, and my dad was cooking and the oven was open. And I think anybody who's had this type of experience understands accountability. My dad says, yeah, the oven's hot. Don't touch it. 1-year-old Cass, I'm going to touch it anyway. Gets burnt. So, even to this day, like, that taught me, maybe I should listen to my dad. I should be, yeah. So I said it to say, like, as parents who have kids in education, don't look at the teachers to fix it, because they can't. Because the teachers are navigating everybody else's behaviors. It's not the teacher's job. The teachers are supposed to teach your kids how to read, write, comprehend and stuff, not behaviors. So I want those of you who are parents, like I said, aunties, uncles, grandparents, what do you need to do different? How can you pour into your young people different so that they can be the adults you want them to be? Because you're going to look up and that 10-year-old going to be 17. And because you didn't teach that 10-year-old how to be accountable, how to be responsible, you didn't find different ways. And in the reality, some kids ain't going to get it by word of mouth from parents, because if you know anything about developmental, they don't listen to adults. They might listen to an auntie. They might listen to a coach. So, but yeah, so I just wanted to kind of like tap in with that. I think it's with a new year, like, you got to change some stuff out, parents. Do something different. So thank you for listening, guys. I want you guys to head to TikTok. I'm on TikTok, just Cass, C-O-T. You can also find me on Instagram at cnshep_chronicles. I would love for you guys to link with me. And don't forget to allow your passion to propel your purpose. See y'all later.